I want you to think the last time you were in a meeting and you came out of the meeting and what you spoke about, or you actually went to an event, you met somebody and what you spoke about immediately afterwards. Every single one of us has a reputation that goes before us, around us, behind us, everywhere. And it's human nature to actually talk about people. And if someone says to you, hey, do you know Bob? Very rarely does someone just go, yes. Or if they do, then you get a little bit worried. But more often, or no, they will say, do you know Bob? And you'll say, yes, I do. Oh, and you will start to describe your perception of Bob and your experience of Bob. And that is reputation, of course. So it's what people say about you when you're not in the room is always a good way of looking at reputation. Now, when we look at reputation, what we want to look at is we want to look at where are you now? Where do you need that reputation to be to get to where your goals are? And then what are the pathways you're putting in place to make sure you're shaping that reputation? So welcome to this week's episode. Sarah and I are going to give you 2 practical hacks that you can put in place immediately to not only spotlight your reputation, but also to put in actions to actually make sure your reputation is delivering what you need it to do so that you absolutely knock those aspirations out of the park.
And if you're a little bit like me, and I think most of us have done this at some point, so I hope you're a little bit like me, we've gone and Googled someone. So we've gone, and if it's a business, we've gone to the website, we go to who the people are and we have a look and we see what they're like. We might jump on LinkedIn and check out their profile page, and we're just looking to see that what we're getting and what we're seeing is actually part of that expectation and that framework of what we're going to encounter if we've met someone or if we're going to meet someone. And what we're also looking for is the connection between all of those things. So, you know, we don't really want to see different hairstyles and different types of photos and all those sorts of things, because each time we're researching someone and there's information readily available to us, that information creates a perception of what we're portraying, and it's part of our personal brand and our reputation. And of course we grow and change. There's no 2 ways about us. And most of us change the way we look at some point. You know, we might grow our hair long, doesn't matter what your gender is, we might change our personal style in terms of how we dress, and certainly we often change jobs and careers as we grow and evolve. But we just have to take stock every now and then and ensure that the information that we're projecting out is actually true and representative of what's going on today. Classic example being, and some of you may have had a similar experience, but I was working through a recruitment process for a role, and the person had popped a profile picture on their resume. Fine, no problem. I jumped on LinkedIn and went, oh yeah, let's see what else, make sure that the LinkedIn profile marries up with their resume, just doing some checks. Yes, it did, that's great. And the LinkedIn profile picture was different to the one on the resume. That happens, that's fine, that's not a problem. Well, the individual came in for an interview. They on paper looked like they were going to be in great alignment for the role. So we brought them in for an interview, and I literally didn't recognize the person. So the LinkedIn profile picture, the picture on the resume, and then the person that was in front of me were 3 different people in my mind. There were 3 different, this was a female in this instance, and there were 3 different hairstyles, 3 different styles of clothing, and I literally couldn't recognize the person when they were there. And by the way, I've had this experience with males as well. It's not a gender specific scenario. So being super consistent in terms of what people are going to see. So if you're going to put a photo in your resume, make it current, make it the same as we're going to see on LinkedIn and any other social network that we're likely to encounter. So my question for you is, where are you now? And what does your reputation look like to other people? And what are they seeing about you when they're doing those secret little Google searches and trying to get an understanding about who they might be meeting or who they're going to be interacting with? So my first tip for you, or your practical exercise, is to go and do a social audit. What does that mean? Well, Google yourself. Take a look and see what happens when you stick your name in a Google search. It'll be really interesting because this is actually what other people are seeing about you. This is forming their perception of your reputation and their perception of your brand. So if there are some tweaks that you need to do, go forth and make those tweaks.
And once you've finished your Google little search and searching yourself down, what I would like you to do is actually put your reputation on a spotlight. So the way that I'm going to share it with you is to write down 5 things, 5 words that you would describe your perception of your reputation currently out there in the marketplace. So write down 5 words that describe what you feel people say about you when you're not in the room, good, bad, and the ugly. Then what I'd like you to do is actually to go and talk to some people that you respect and ask them to identify and say, when people do, say my name or ask who I am, do you know me? What would be 5 things that you say about me? What would be 5 words that you'd use to describe me? The good, they're not so good. And when you talk to people that you really respect and you get this feedback back from them, it gives you amazing insight into what your reputation is likely to be. Now, when you are talking to people that you respect, one of the key things to have a look for and really to ask them is say, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to shape my reputation in such a way that it will be an enabler for me to achieve my goals and my aspirations. Because at the end of the day, the reputation that we have out there in the marketplace, there'll be good things, there'll be not so good things. But as long as it's enabling you to reach the goals that you want and it's aligned to your authentic brand, then we're on track. So that's just a really quick activity, because when you have all of that information, you can then go through and do your 3rd step, which is actually put actions in place based on the feedback, based on your perception of it as well. And then you put actions in place on how you can shape your reputation so you have control over it.
Absolutely. And do remember that your reputation or your brand, it can grow and change alongside with you over time. But like Kirsten has said, taking control of this and really shaping it so that you can reach your full potential is what we're trying to help you achieve as well. And in that process, what we're doing is we're being really authentic as well. And we've spoken about authentic leadership, and it's about that self-awareness piece. So there's a really great link between what my reputation looks like and that authentic leadership piece. So take those 2 actions that we've shared with you today. Do that quick social audit, take some time to spotlight your reputation and just identify what you might like to work on. And join us for our next episode where we're going to share some insights into the power of leading differently.